again, my little yarnivores and spiderettes. Fiber Spider back again with another tutorial just for you. And today we are going to be making some fingerless gloves. Yes, these are some of my favorite items to make because they are easy, they are quick, and they are functional, especially for somebody like me. I'm always using my hands and I need my fingers free. So yes, today, fingerless gloves. And these are done in the Celtic weave stitch, which is one of my favorites because it has a lovely texture. It looks a lot more complicated than it actually is, and it works up pretty darn fast. So, that being said, today's video is sponsored by Lion Brand. Thank you very, very much, Lion Brand. Yes, we are using their Pound of Love yarn. This is, by and large, one of my favorites. I've used it countless times in many, many projects. And for those of you that are not familiar, it is 16 ounces, a weight of 4, over 1,000 yards, which for me is one of my biggest draws to this particular yarn. I love yardage. And the colorway is Oxford Gray. That's what we're going to be using today. And it is acrylic, so it is machine washable and dryable, which again is a huge bonus point for me. Obviously, you are not going to need to use an entire skein. You could make several pairs and a hat and whatever else with just one skein. And for this particular piece, you are going to need 2 different hook sizes. Now, me personally, I used a 5.5, a size I crochet hook, as well as a size K, which is a 6.5 millimeter crochet hook. Now, the reason why is because for the ribbing that we're going to be doing initially, you're going to want to use a slightly smaller crochet hook. And then when we get into the body of the fingerless glove, we need to go up a size. In fact, I went up 2 sizes to a size K so that it was nice and, fitted rather well, I think. And it is really quite simple. So, without further ado, let's get started. Round 1. All right, so first things first, your base chain. Now, the beauty of this particular piece is that technically you can make it whatever size you want, whether it's for a little itty-bitty hand or a large hand or something in between. All you need is a multiple of 4 chains. And I did quite a bit of experimenting to see what would work out best for me, and I found that 24 chains worked out beautifully. Now, that's me personally. You might have to fiddle with it a little bit, one way or another, but as long as it's a multiple of 4 chains, then you're good to go. And I started with my size I, the 5.5 millimeter hook, to make my chain. And then once you have your multiple of 4, we're going to join this into a ring and we're going to crochet in the round. Now, what's very important, of course, is that you don't want your chain to be twisted. So making sure that it is not, in fact, twisted, we're going to connect this to make a ring. Now, there are many schools of thought. Me, personally, I like just going underneath 1 loop. You could go underneath 2 loops. For the sake of ease, I'm just going to go under 1 loop of the chain and slip stitch to join. There we go. Okay, so we have our base ring. Now, let me get my tail out of the way. Okay, so for the first round, really, really quite simple. Just double crochets all the way around. Now, what I like to do is start by chaining up 2 to give us the height that we need, but this is not going to count as an actual stitch. What we're going to be doing is double crochets into each chain all the way around, and we're going to need a total of, for me, 24 double crochets all the way around. So going right into that first one where we slipped into with a double crochet, and then just double crochet into each chain all the way around. And just be sure that you don't count this chaining up of 2 as a stitch. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to continue doing my doubles all the way around, and I will meet back up with you when I'm almost done with this particular round, and then we will continue on with the ribbing aspect of our cuff. All right, so I'm almost done doing my doubles for the first round. I just need 4 more, and then I'll have my total of 24. So 1, 2, 3, and nope, almost had it. There we go. And 4. Then going to slip stitch into the top of the first double crochet, not this chaining of 2, but into the double crochet here, slip stitch into the top of that stitch. And there you go. So that is the end of round 1. Okie dokie. So rounds 2 through 6. It's essentially 5 rounds that we're going to be doing some ribbing. And we're going to start off the same way by chaining up 2 for the height. And then we're going to do front and back post double crochets. So not around here, because that's our chaining of a 2. So around here, this first post, start with a front post double crochet. So that's yarning over, pulling around this post, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. So that's a nice front post. Then a back post, yarn over, around the back, and around that post, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. So it has the bar in the front. Then a front post, yarning over, around the post, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. Back post, yarn over, around the back of that post, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2. So it's going to alternate back and forth to give you a really nice ribbing. So just alternate back and forth between front post and back post, over and over and over, until you reach the end of the row. So I'm going to keep working on this off camera, and I will meet back up with you to finish up round 2. Okay, so I'm almost done with round 2. I just have, again, 4 more to go. I just did a back post here. So let's finish this up together. So we need a front post, and then a back post, and a front post, and last but not least, a back post. There we go. And then we have reached our little chaining up of 2, and our first front post. And that is what we're going to slip stitch into the top of that first front post, double crochet stitch. And there you go. So that is the end of round 2. Now, to continue on for as long as you want the cuff to be, continue on by chaining up 2, and then front post around the front post, and back post around the back posts. It's really that simple. Just follow suit with whatever the stitch already is. Now, you might want, a shorter cuff or a longer cuff than what I had done. Totally up to you. This is customizable. Me, personally, I like my little wrists covered. That's just me. And also, I like for the cuffs to be long enough where I can tuck them into the sleeves of whatever it is that I'm wearing. Personal preference. But yeah, so you just keep going in this fashion. And then when you reach the beginning of the round or the end of the round, as your perspective dictates, you would then slip stitch to the top of that first front post double crochet, chain 2, and continue on. Like I said, I did a total of 5 rounds of this ribbing. And then, then we get into the Celtic weave aspect of this project. And you know what? I'm almost there, so you know what? I'm just going to show you the whole round on camera. Why not? If I can get my act together. Another thing that's really nice about this is because it works up so quickly, you can make, I would say, during the course of a weekend, you could probably make several pairs of these different sizes, different colors of yarn, etc., etc. Coordinate with whatever jacket that you're wearing. And yes, of course, also there will be timestamps as per usual. I always try to do those. There will be timestamps in the description box, as well as a link where you can find this yarn online. And yep, we're just about there, so do my back post, and then last but not least, slip stitch into this first front post, double crochet, and voila. Now, if you're not sure how many rounds you've done, as you can see, there are 2 horizontal bars because we've done 2 rounds of our ribbing. Now, looking at my example here, you can see that there's 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5 of those bars. So I did 5 rounds. Little trick for you. All right, so I'm going to keep on keeping on. And then I'll meet back up with you for round 7. All right, so keep doing your ribbing, and I will meet back up with you. See you in a bit. All right, so round 7, our cuff is complete, and it is at this point that you're going to want to switch to your larger hook size. Like I said, I'm using a 6.5 size K for the rest of this project. So, that being said, I'm going to start by, again, chaining up 2, and that's just to give us the height that we need. And now we're going to start in with our Celtic weave. Okay, for those of you that are not familiar with this, bear with me. I'm going to go slow, and I'm going to do plenty of repeats for you. This is very similar to the Celtic weave hat, and I think I also did a bag, actually. It's been a while. So we're going to be doing treble crochets because our stitches are going to be angled, and we're going to be working over increments of 4 stitches. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to be working out of 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to be working stitches 3 and 4, then 1 and 2. Okay, again, bear with me. So be sure to yarn over twice because this needs to be a treble, and we're going to be going around the posts of stitches 3 and 4. So around the post, pull up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, and pull through 2. Yarning over twice, going around the post of stitch number 4, pull up a loop, pull through 2, through 2, and through 2. So we've got our first 2 stitches done. Now we need to sort of go backwards and stitch 1 and 2. And so yarning over twice. Now this is perhaps the most fiddly aspect of the stitch, but it's not that bad once you get the hang of it, and there's plenty of room for practice. So we're going to be going around the back through the top of these 2 stitches. All right, so might want to hang on to your loops there. So around the back and into the top of that first stitch. Now what I actually find easier is, instead of trying to just sort of go around back, so starting to go around back, but if you go around from the other side, sometimes it's a little bit easier. Okay, now so it's this stitch right here. So going around this way with your treble. So pulling up a loop, pull through 2, pull through 2, pull through 2. And if you go from the right side, yep, that is what we need to do, going in through the top of that stitch. We just turned our work. Makes it a little bit easier sometimes. So then we have to go into this next stitch, yarning over twice, into the top of that next stitch, pull up that loop, through 2, and through 2. So we have our 4 stitches, and they are crossed, as you can see. So let's do that again. Yarning over twice. Now, looking closely, these 2 stitches were the last 2 stitches that we did. So, you don't want to work into here. So it's these next 4 stitches that we're going to be working. So this is 1, 2, 3, and 4. So around number 3 first. Through 2, through 2, through 2, yarning over twice, around the post of the next stitch, through 2, through 2, through 2. Okay, so then we have to go around these 2 stitches right here, yarning over twice, through that first one, through 2, and 2, and 2, yarning over twice, pull up that loop, through 2, through 2, through 2. Stitches are nice and crossed. Let's do it again. So these were the last 2 stitches, this one and this one. So it's these 4 stitches. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. Starting with 3, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2. Stitch number 4, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2. Yarning over twice, go into stitch 1, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2, and then into stitch number 2. Pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2. Okay, let's do it again. All right, so these were the last 2 stitches we worked. So it's these 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, starting with 3, that's second front post. Pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2, yarning over twice, around stitch number 4, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2, around stitch number 1, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2, around stitch number 2, through 2, through 2, through 2. Okay, we are getting there. Stitch number 3, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2, around stitch number 4, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2, around stitch number 1, pull up that loop through 2, through 2, through 2, around stitch number 2, doot, 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 and we've got one more grouping. Okay, it's 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so around stitch number 3, almost there. Around stitch number 1, then around stitch number 2, and then to finish up, slip stitch into the top of this first stitch that's crossed over, slip stitch right into there, and there you go. That is the end of round 7, and we have our groupings of 4 all crossed over and looking oh so pretty. All right, so round 8 is going to be similar to what we just did, although reversed. Now that sounds weird, but it'll make more sense as we continue on. So rounds 7 and 8, we're going to be repeating in order to create the Celtic weave. Now we did our initial slip stitch to finish round 7, slip stitch into the next 2 stitches so that we can continue on with our patterning. So when you finish the round, it's a total of 3 slip stitches, 1 initial and then 2 more. So we are ready to go for the next group. So chain up 2 again, just to give us the height. Now we need the angle to go in the opposite direction, because right now it's going from the left to the right upwards. It needs to now go from the right to the left upwards. So we're working with these 4 stitches right now. So that's 1, 2, 3, and 4. So again, start around 3, around that post, through 2, through 2, through 2, yarning over twice, around post 4, through 2, through 2, through 2. Now, we need to go over these. So instead of going around the back, we're going to go around the front with stitches 1 and 2. So, and instead of going into the top of the stitch, we're going to go around the post. It's going to make it a little bit more pronounced. So it's these 2 stitches here. So around stitch 1 first, pull up that loop, through 2, through 2, through 2, yarning over twice, around the post of stitch 2, pull up that loop, through 2, through 2, through 2. So as you can see now, the stitches are going in the opposite direction. That's what creates the illusion of the weave. All right, so again, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So around 3 first, through 2, 2, 2, around post 4, through 2, and 2, and 2, and then sort of scoot your stitches back a little bit, and then you can find the first post, around that post, pull up that loop, through 2, and 2, and 2, yarning over twice, around post 2, pull up that loop, through 2, and 2, and 2. This is a lot easier than the last one, I do admit, but they both need to be done in order for the weave to work. So I'm going to keep moseying our way through this. It's like, as long as you remember 3, 4, 1, 2, as far as the order is concerned, and you can't go wrong. So we're still going from the front perspective. Then the next round, it would be, again, from the back in order for the weave to work. And so you would keep doing a repeat of rounds 7 and 8 until you are ready for the opening for your thumb. Now, again, you might want to do more or fewer rounds than what I did. I did a total of 7 rounds, 7 solid rounds, and then I decided to add my thumb hole. Whatever you decide, whatever works for you, that is what's best. But I just did a total of 7 of these Celtic weave rounds. And we are really making some nice progress here. We're almost done with the round. There we go. And I've got one more pairing. Yep. Okay, so as you can see, now I wanted to show you this on camera because we have these 2. Then we have our chaining of 2 right there, and then we have our last 2. Ignore this chaining of 2. as if it's not even there. So starting around, because this is 1, 2, and then 3 and 4. Ignore that one, going around 3, going into 4, going back to 1, and then number 2. And that chaining of 2, I would say it pretty much blends in to the rest of the piece, so you really don't have to worry about it. I mean, it's right there. Blends in pretty well, I think. All right, then, so we have over here, we have stitches 1, 2, 3, and 4 into this first one here, slip stitch, because this is our chaining of 2 right here, into this first stitch, slip stitch, into the top of that first, and then to finish the round, slip stitch into the next 2 stitches so that you can go back and repeat round 7. And for the sake of clarity, yes, I'm going to do the repeat for you guys. So let's get to it. All right, so round 7 for the repeat. We already did our total of 3 slip stitches, the initial and then 2 more. Start by chaining up 2 to give us the height. All right, so right now we've got stitches 1, 2, 3, and 4. Start around number 3, round that post, through 2, through 2, through 2, then around stitch 4. They like to hide, so shift your stitches a bit. There we go. Through 2, through 2, through 2. And last round, they were from the right to the left. We now need them to be from the left to the right. So we have to go behind once again. And it's going to be in the top of stitches 1 and 2. So we've got stitch 1. And then into the top of stitch 2. Right into the top there. There we go. So we just did these. Now it is 1, 2, 3, and 4. Again, yes, I know they like to hide. They are elusive, but we can do this. There we go. So that's number 3. Scooch that to the side, and we found 4 right here. Okay, and then stitches 1 and 2. So that's 1. And then into number 2. And they're crossing over in the opposite way. I love how this works. Absolutely, positively. And yes, it does take practice, okay? Not going to lie. And if you are watching this for the first time, I would suggest perhaps watch it a bunch first before attempting it, as opposed to trying to do it as I'm doing it and as you're learning how to do it. Watch it a bunch first and then try it. Sometimes that does help. Trust me, I know from experience. So around the back. There we go. And around the back. And then around the third. And around the fourth. Okay, I'm getting caught up on my plies here. Bear with me. There we go. Okay, so we've got 3 and 4. Now we need to do 1 and 2. There we are. And then around 3 and 4. That's 3. And 4. And 1. And into the top of the second. There we go. And we've almost come full circle once again, because I only have these last 4 to go. Again, since we have come full circle, this is 1 and 2. This is the chaining of 2. Ignore this little guy. So it's 1 and 2, 3 and 4. So around 3. And then around 4. Then into the top of 1. And into the top of 2. There we go. And then to finish up, slip stitch into the top of this first one. This is our chaining of 2 right here, into the top of this first stitch, slip stitch, and there you go. So you can really see the weave starting to take effect here. Now I am going to repeat round 8 for you, and then you should be in good shape to continue on for a bit. Alrighty. All right, so round 8, once again, we're going to repeat that. And so I did my initial slip stitch. I need to slip stitch into the next 2. Then we're ready for the next round, where instead of going from the left to the right, we need them to go from the right to the left. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, starting around 3, it's always 3, 4, 1, 2. So around 3. And then around 4. And then around 1. Around that post. And then around number 2. There we go. So they're going from right to left, crossing over. All right, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. Round number 3. Round number 4. Around number 1. And around number 2. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. Starting around number 3. Around 4. Around 1. And around 2. And pull out some more yarn as necessary. It happens. All right. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it's around 3. Around 4. Around 1. And around 2. Around 3. Around 4. Around 1. And around 2. Okay, and then one more grouping to go. As always, we have ourselves 1, 2, then the chaining of 2, then we've got 3 and 4. So around 3. Around 4. Around 1. And around 2. There it is. Almost lost it there. There we go. All right. And then to finish up the round, see here we have our chaining of 2 and we have our first 2. So around into this first stitch, slip stitch in there. And then to get ready for the next round, slip stitch into the next 2 stitches. And then you would continue back to round 7. Now we've done 4 rounds. We've got 1, 2, 3, and 4. And like I said, it was a total of 7 of these rounds using the Celtic weave. Then I decided to put in the thumb hole, which is actually really quite simple. I'm going to do the next 3 rounds off camera, and I will meet back up with you to show you exactly what I am talking about. All right, so keep at it, and I will see you in a bit. All right, so I've been working right along, and I'm up to round 14. So as you can see, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7 rounds of the Celtic weave, and now we are ready for the thumb hole. So I already did my total of 3 slip stitches, and this next round is going to be essentially the same as what we have been doing. It's going to be the right crossing over the left. And yeah, it is essentially the same. We're just going to be leaving off and skipping the last grouping of the Celtic weave. That's really all there is to it as far as creating the thumb hole. We are omitting the last grouping. So that is going to be skipping over a total of 4 stitches once we get there. So we have our first grouping. Nice, nice, nice. And let's scoot on over to the next grouping. As always, 1, 2, 3, 4, going around that third one. Now, as far as the length, I mean, this just happened to work for me and my sized hand. If you want to add some rounds or subtract some rounds, by all means, go ahead and do so. I do realize that not all of our hands are the same size. I get that. All right. So just have a couple more of these groupings to go. And then after the thumb hole, it's really just a matter of continuing on in the same way that we have been doing, essentially a round 7 and a round 8 for a couple more rounds, so that the bottoms of our fingers will be covered over. Not too much. Again, dealer's choice. It is up to you. I did about 3 rounds myself. Oh, I think I only did 1 yarn over there. Yeah, I did about 3 rounds for my particular gloves. Some people, they like only the little tippy tips of their fingers. I like to have a little something more sticking out. Okay, we almost there. I think I got like one more grouping to go or so. Let's do it to it. And also the nice thing about this particular design is that whether you are making a left hand or a right hand, it is the same thing. Either or, same construction. You don't have to concern yourself with, is it a lefty? Is it a righty? Nope, it's the same thing. Okay. And yep, it appears that we are finally there. All right, so we just did these stitches here, and this is where we initially started. So we have these 4 stitches left. It's the 1, 2, that chaining of 2, 3, and 4. So quite simply, we're just going to skip all of these stitches and do a slip stitch into that first stitch right there. just slip stitch right into that first stitch, leaving a nice opening here. And then, of course, continue on in the same fashion by slip stitching into the next 2 stitches so that you will be ready for the next round. Now, what you could do is, because this is a fairly subtle thumb hole, what you could do is after you're done with your project, you could go around this opening here with perhaps a round or 2 of single crochets. You could do that. Me, personally, I like it to be subtle, so I opted not to do that. But yeah, from here, you would continue on by going on in the same fashion, by chaining up 2. And so we have our grouping. It's 1, 2, 3, and 4, right? So start around 3. And then around 4. And then into the top of 1, because we're going around the back. And then into the top of 2. There we go. And then we'll do another one, because we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So around 3. And then around 4. 4 always likes to hide. There we go. And into the top of 1, going around the back. And then into the top of 2. And so on and so forth. So you would keep on going around in the same fashion, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to meet back up with you around here so that we can finish this round together. All right? I will see you in a bit. All right, so I'm almost done with the round. As you can see, right here is the thumb opening, and I just have one more grouping to do. So as you can see, we went into these stitches, so it's 1, 2, here's the chaining of 2, then 3 and 4. So again, skip that chaining of 2, going into and around post number 3. And then around number 4. And then going back into the top of 1. And into the top of 2. Then finishing up the round, because this was our initial chaining of 2, into the top of that first stitch there. And there you go. So that is one round after the thumb hole right there. And so like I said, what I did was I did an additional 2 more rounds, and that gives a little bit of, see right here is the thumb hole, gives it a little bit of height, to cover the fingers just a little bit. Now, one thing that you could do is that if you want this to have a bit of an edging, is you could do a round or two of single crochets around the top, just like you could do a round or two of single crochets around the thumb opening. That is totally up to you. I decided to leave it having a nice plain edge. I didn't want to frame it so much. And, well, there you go. So as far as the next 2 rounds, just alternate what we've been doing previously. So the last round, they went from the left to the right. So the next, it would be right over the left. So they would be in front as opposed to having to scoot behind. It's not my favorite technique, having to go behind like that, but it works. That is the point. And there you go. All right, so however many rounds you want to do, I did a total of 3, however many you want to do. Then just snip off the rest of your yarn, weave in your ends on the inside of your piece, and you are good to go with a snuggly wuggly pair of Celtic weave fingerless gloves. Alrighty, my dears, so that's going to conclude today's tutorial on the Celtic Weave Fingerless Gloves. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and thank you ever so much for joining me today. And also a great big thank you to Lion Brand for sponsoring this video. Thank you once again. Alright, so until next time, you know what to do, right? I want all of you to stay inspired, stay caffeinated, stay stitching, and please, do stay safe. Take care of yourselves and each other. Make them some gloves. And I will see you in my next video. Bye for now, everybody, and have a great day.